Welcome to a new podcast where we're breaking through and breaking it down with a new girl. Your host, Dawn Piercy. Welcome to Mariano Big Dog's Corner here on a new podcast. I'm Dawn Piercy, your host, with co-host
Mariano Big Dog.
Yes, and we have brought you Guy Grundy. He's an actor, producer, bodybuilder, stuntman, fighter, fight choreographer, writer, and he placed first in the Mr. Australian Championships 2 times and second in Mr. World Competition 2 times as well. Guy Grundy, how are you? Welcome to Big Dog's Corner.
Hey, Dawn. Hey, Mariano. I'm doing really well, guys. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Now, from the research I've done, I want to touch on this, and then I want to get into Bane the series afterwards. I know that growing up, you had a very rough start to life, and you started lifting weights at just the age of 9 when you lived in Australia, and by the age of 19, you were focusing your attention on the bodybuilding. Can you share with our audience a little bit about overcoming adversity and being able to apply that into your life for those that are trying to get through that?
Definitely, and you just did some good research there, Dawn. Wow.
She don't mess around, man.
She's not doing this half-hearted, that's for sure. Yeah, basically, I didn't have a father growing up. I was young, so I never really knew what it was like to be a man. So I've read a lot of biographies and, you know, to learn and understand and watch other people to see how they deal with things. And fundamentally inside, you know what's right or wrong. Mm-hmm. But just growing up, I realized, you know, just being a nice person all the time and being easygoing can sometimes be taken as weakness. So, you know, I started doing did you want to be Mr. Australia? Did you want to be Mr. World? And I was like, no, I just hated being skinny and I wanted to be big. And I think one of the biggest impressions upon me was, like, when you say, you know, adversity, it's having role models and to look up. And I remember just a huge moment in my life was being in Australia, we have a lot of beach carnivals where you do the rowing and the beach swimming and the running and everything. And there was a young guy, maybe 19, 20, who was obviously was a bodybuilder, but also in the boat crew. And I'll never forget him just walking along, and he just walked along without sticking his arms out or anything, just like a very relaxed, cool guy. Like, he didn't think of himself as anything better than anyone else. And I was like, wow, you know, one day I would want someone to look at me the way I'm looking at him. So that was something that really motivated me, because I just had goals and role models. And I've just learned that in life, we're all of us get knocked down, all of us. And that's not important. What's important is that you get back up and keep going. Because if you do get back up, finally, it is going to work. And the more successes you've had, I guarantee the more failures you've had. I've had so many. I couldn't even count the amount of failures I've had, and each one has devastated me, depressed me, made me angry, made me bitter. But I don't know, something inside of me always just get back up, keep going, keep moving forward. And as Mariano will tell you from fighting, when I boxed and everything, you know, some rounds, they just do not go your way. Like, one minute you're having a good time in there, you're cracking the guy, and the next thing he's with the body shot, and the whole complexion of everything changed. And I think that facing adversity really allows you to know who you are. Like, I respect people that have faced adversity and come over it, because a lot of people, like, if I was going to draft a football player or a fighter, I'd want the person who's faced adversity and come over it, because if you've just had a successful, easy life and then you've got adversity in front of you, a lot of people can't adjust and handle it. It's so that's one thing I've learned, is just to continue moving forward. But, you know, you have your periods like after an audition, as Mariano, and you wouldn't know, Dawn. Before the audition, you're pumped, you do the audition, you feel great, I did so well, then you don't get a call for a day, then your spirits drop a little bit, and the next thing you're in a funk and depression, and why this, why that. Then you get your next interview one. So it's I think just for people out there to understand that no matter who we are, and like Mariano will tell you, as big and a tougher guy as he is, and all the success he's had in Hollywood, we all have down moments, we all doubt ourselves, and we all go through hard times. But I think it's just important to remember that everyone goes through that, and that's what we do through reading biography. We go through hard times, and it's the true champions that through that. And then also you back at your life, and I've always said to myself, when I'm really upset about something, I say to myself, when you look back at this period, how will have you handled this? When you look back, you're going to be proud of handling this situation, or you're going to be a little baby and crawl into your shell and whinge. So I always think of the big picture type thing, which is not always easy as I get older.
Right.
And more it's become.
Yeah, you absolutely have to take a step back and look at it. And I have to say, you're truly inspirational. Now, I want to.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Thank
I
you.
want to ask about the Mr. Australian Championship. How did you get into that? Tell us about that, how that was for you.
I never enjoyed competing, the aspect of being on stage with other men in my posing trunks with oil on my body, but I love training, and as Mariano will tell you, it's not like, it does sound weird when people say, "Are you a citizen?" I said, I lifted weights, put oil on my body, and stood on stage in a pair of pink posing trunks. So which is the truth. But what I loved about bodybuilding is that it teaches you patience, it teaches you discipline, dedication, and you just training. Like people go, "Well, man, you're so positive," and that. I'm like, yeah, of course I act positive all the time, but there are so many times when I don't want to go to the gym. There
Right.
are times that I don't want to train legs when I was a professional bodybuilder, but you do it because you have a good goal in mind. And I think that's important to have a big picture in mind for you. And basically with the bodybuilding, that definitely taught me resilience and toughness. With my first show, I took the under 90 kilogram, which I think is like 195, 198 pounds. Then the next year, I couldn't make weight for the light heavyweight. It was a favourite, so I had to compete as a heavyweight, and I was like 2 pounds over the limit. So I'm weighed by 34 pounds weight. So monsters. I still managed to take second by 1 point and lose. And then again, I came back the following year, and then I finally won it. So
Nice.
Thank you. I had to fail twice before I won it. I went to the World Championship twice, like $60 money. I must admit, it's funny. I was actually stealing other competitors' food because I had no money to buy anything. So just all those little stumbling blocks, and just seeing the big picture. And it's funny when you look at bodybuilding, like, wow, man, I was pretty. At the time, I never saw you need to stop. And I do agree with that, but I think people want to go somewhere, always looking for the thing, the next challenge. I remember after winning the Israeli first time was my best dream, and I was improvement or make my girlfriend's like, "Sweetie, do you want to stand and just see what you've been working for the last 3 years?" It seems that when you retire or when you step back, that's when you actually really appreciate what you've done. But at the time, you're always pushing to move ahead, looking for that next round. What am I going to do in the next round? This guy's hitting me with the right hand. So you just keep coming back, and that just builds resilience.
Now, how did you get into acting? Did you come to America first, or did you get into acting before America?
No, I've always wanted to be an actor. Ever since Rocky, I believe my parents, my father and when I call my mother, stuck me in the trunk of the car because we had no money, and I'm claustrophobic, so that was always a fun experience. My dad would think it'd be funny to leave me in there for 10 minutes banging on the hood. He'd laugh out of that one. So I seen the movie Rocky, and I didn't know it was so good, but that taught me never giving up, going one more round and being disciplined. And then I wagged school when I was 10, which wags means I didn't go to school. I did a lot of wagging. That I seen a picture of Arnold as the Terminator, with his chest and his hair, in a famous street called George Street, Sydney, Australia. And I just stopped there and pointed to my best friend, pointed to the picture, and I said, "That's what I'm going to be when I grow up." And ever since then, I've always, for me, I was terrible at school. I couldn't read or write at 13. I lived on the street at 16. But when it came to acting and reading the books and having an acting coach, immediately I understood all what they were talking about. The moment before, emoting emotions, drawing on things. Like, it just came to me very naturally. So, and it also fills a thing where I have a definite, I'm always open to admitting things. My insecurities have made me who I am today. and, I had abandonment issues because my parents left me, no one wanted me, blah,
Right.
blah, blah, my little four stories. But when that camera is on me, it's just a magical moment for me. All the attention's on me, and I guess in the inside of craving, and also the art of acting, reacting off other people, and it's just something I'm truly passionate about. It's the only thing, other than being with my daughter and my wife, is that when I'm on set, my anxiety goes away, my nerves go away. I'm just happy. I'm just so happy to be there. It's just a world that I'm comfortable with being in. And I think anyone that wants to do acting, it's something it's not an easy road. Just like Mariano will tell you, with fighting and bodybuilding, we pick like the hardest route you could possibly pick, because bodybuilding and acting's depending on what someone else thinks and what they want. Fighting, it goes to the judge's scorecard. Then, as Mariano will tell you, you never know the result. So a lot of things are out of your control, which for a person who wants to be in control, that's very tough. So, if you do follow the path of acting or bodybuilding, you just got to remember it's a long-term thing, and you're always going to get better and better. And with bodybuilding, I retired at 31, and that's pretty much when you start to hit your peak. So I did it because, I've never been good at just one thing. I've been a state national athlete in 7 sports. I played professional rugby in Australia. I did the bodybuilding. But for me, I think anyone can be great at one thing. If you spend your whole life doing one, you better be pretty good at it. You know what I mean? So, and also you get burnout. Like you're pushing the weights, and then you get to a point where you're old. And when I look at the whole life story, all the adversity of the roles that I've booked, as a collector and in a tough guy, and they go, "Wow, you really were convincing." And I'm like, and I keep saying Mariano, but he's been similar to myself. He's, had a hard life and hasn't always been Mario. That it made me who I am. It gave me the physique that I have. It gave me the fighting ability I have. It gave me, when I go through to be a collector or an enforcer or a tough guy, that's really not a challenge for me, because all my life experiences have led up to that.
Okay. Now, you were awarded your citizenship as a person with extraordinary abilities, and you actually you work with brand ambassador and father and children's fitness talent. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And then I want to get into your acting more.
Yeah, with the US citizenship, that was this is when I truly believe in the law of attraction, and because I knew that I was going to live in my mother never there. She was always out. I'd be watching a lot of TV. So I watch a lot of American TV, like the streets of San Francisco. And just in my head, I knew that I was going to become an American citizen. And it became a choice. I was playing rugby, and then I got, picked for teams. I realized I couldn't do bodybuilding and the rugby together. So I had to make a choice. And I was like, you know what? I want to do bodybuilding. The reason this is what makes me happy, and I'm glad it's a choice that I made. And I just knew that I was going to live in America. I looked into the lottery or whatever. Then I came over here, and Joanne Lee, who's a bodybuilder from England, introduced me to letters, and then I went to an attorney and went through the legal process to earn my US citizenship, which I'm extremely honored to have and very proud to be an American citizen. As it's it is a great country in the world in the sense that this is the land of opportunity. And you asked about acting in Australia. I did do acting for a bit, but it wasn't worthwhile. I remember doing a National Pepsi commercial, and I made like $500 because people say, "Why so little?" I said, in Australia, we have less people in the whole of Australia than you have in LA. So your money you can make in there doing certain things is so much smaller on a smaller scale. And just America always held, not an arrogance, but a strength and something where I knew that I could achieve things. And it was just a dream in my head. And as I said, that's why I do believe in the law of attraction. And with the children's fitness and everything, I would go to the gym. Like I said, I was 9 and I would be going to the gym, and I went to Giles Gym, which was like a really hardcore gym down by the beach, and all old rugby players and all representative rugby players. One of the greatest rugby players, Ian Roberts, who's a really good mate of mine, he would train there. So it was like a little a lot of them under their wing. So I always wanted to be that person, somebody else. Like if I, little word, "What's up? How you doing?" Or just, just a good word or something positive, because things had such an effect on me that children out there, you can change their whole life by just giving them a little bit of advice, giving them a bit of attention, or saying something like Dawn, you would tell another what he said to you, which was amazing and so to the point. Those little things just change your whole outlook on life. My father, who was a great guy, but like he had his own issues and that. Some people said, my dad would say to me, "Black socks, fruit." That was his saying. And so, when I came up with my daughter, I know Mariano's laughing. I'm like, "Dad, to this day, I don't know what black socks and fruit meant." But that's what he's saying. You don't argue with your father, especially when he's a good fighter, and he beat me up once or twice. But so with my daughter, I came up with a saying from the time she was in a mummy's tummy was, you always stand up for yourself, and you can be anything you choose. So, something I always said, it's just, I really want to be famous and well known and everything, because I want the attention, I want the money to fulfill that need. But I really would like to be someone that can help change other people's lives, because there are so many people out there that don't have good parenting, that are neglected, that if they have a role model out there or someone who takes a little interest in them, it can just change their whole life and whole perspective. And I'd love to be that person for someone else, because I've had that feeling of people doing it to me. Like, Mariano was at the gym, he would hang out with Charles Glass, and at the time when I first came here, I was like an arm wrestling champion, and I'm like, oh, wow. And I got to meet Mariano and, and see how he walked around and he carried himself. So, and Mariano went out of his way to say hello to me. He didn't know who I was, and he was very hard gold gym kid that just got there. Well, no, so I just want to try to be that person for other people, because it's a great feeling. Like, why do you tip so much? And I'm like, I'm not really giving them the money. I'm giving it to if I give them $5 because they ordered a $10 thing, the smile you get and that feeling you get of just giving them and that appreciation. I'm doing it. It's everything you do. You're really doing for a selfish reason. I'm doing it because it makes me feel good. To know that I helped that person.
Right.
They're working for $8 an hour, and I just gave them $5. And that look on their face of like, when you go through the drive-through and they give you the change, you say, "No, man, that's all you." And oh, wow. And some of them say, "Well, I'm not allowed to accept tips." And I'd be like, my line back is, "Well, I'm not taking it back, buddy. So you need to figure it out yourself."
That's too funny. So tell us about Bane, the TV series. How did you get the part? That's an awesome part. And where can we watch it?
If you want to, if you Google Bane series and just put Guy Grundy in there, that will come up.
Okay.
And basically, Bane came up as a project. Like I lived on the street, so I knew who Superman was, I knew who the Incredible Hulk was, and I knew who Batman was. But I didn't know anything else. While kids were watching cartoons, I was looking for food or fighting or living on the street. When there's not too much cable TV on the street, unfortunately. So a lot of people would say to me, especially when I shave my head, they go, "Man, you look like Bane. You look like Bane." And I was like, "Okay, thanks, that's cool." But then I seen The Dark Knight, and I keep going back to Mariano because he'll have these experiences. Being a good fighter, but being a big man, all you hear as an actor is you need to dumb it down, meaning you can't show how good you really are, because we need you swinging wild and everything, because if you fight as good as you can, how's that small guy really going to beat you? And then with Bane, he was trained by the same people as Batman, the Shadow of Leeds. So it was just a character who could fight. And I basically produced another series as well, but unfortunately just didn't. So this is something that I personally took total control of, became a producer on, worked with Hectic Films, with Rich Bird, and idea of what I wanted to do. And I'm very easy to work with, in the sense that, hey, Dawn, you know what you're doing, do your thing. So I'd say to Ricky, hey, I want to do Bane, and I want to have my daughter in it. And then he'd basically come up with an amazing script and idea, and I'd be like, awesome, cool. And then when I'm on set, like, the people, if you're the star of the show and a producer, some people, actors, get carried away with themselves. I'm just grateful to be there. So people go, "Man, you're so easy to work with." I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Tell you how to do camera work when I don't know? How I'm going to tell you how to do sound? I don't know how to do any of that. But as I've produced and learned and done choreography, it's really helped me with my fight choreography, where I can understand, okay, we're going to do this move and this move, then we're going to end in this position, which will lead to this. So I'm pretty observant watching things. And when I did it, we've got Adam Beck as the cameraman. I worked with him on a lot of things. And I actually said to him, I said, look, Adam, I know a lot of people will control you and tell you what to do. I know you have some visions that you see things that you want to do. I said, bring that to the table, bring that all out. So I people do their things, they do it right, and they do their job. I don't step on anyone's toes. I don't try to micromanage things. And one thing on a movie set I've learned is I never stress out, because in the end, it's like a fight. It's all going to work out. Like if you get stressed out because you took a hard shot, that thing, now mind's off the game. It's like when you're doing it or reading lines. You're reading lines, and all of a sudden you say to yourself, wow, I'm doing really good. And you're like, oh my God, I just took myself out of the moment. I told myself how good I was. Here I am, and then you got to get back in the moment. So yeah, that's one of those things that I really enjoy.
We have Maverick Von Hogg wants to know why he's not on Bane.
You tell Maverick that I've been thinking about him, and he is going to be on there. He's going to be on there. He's my boy, and he actually, he texts me that I'm like, Maverick, I can't just throw you in there. I've got to get a character for you. But Maverick will definitely be in there. He was my boss there for a while, and he's one of my closest friends. Nice. A great guy. I've had a lot of fun with him and Mariano. Probably some stories that we can't actually tell without getting in trouble. But definitely,
it makes
they're the kind of men that I like hanging out with. Mariano will show you off screen, or I will. But what I enjoyed about what I learned was with a lot of the tough. What I learned was tough guys don't act tough. It's the weak guys that have got insecurities and that act tough. So I gravitate towards when I thought about it, I was like, man, am I gay? Because a lot of my friends have got good bodies and they're good looking and they can all fight. And then I just realized I'm not gay because I'm not gay. I like girls. But I realized I was drawn to that kind of man because they impressed me. Like this dude could kick someone's butt, and he's the guy over there sitting in the corner, not bragging about himself. And I like it when people will say to me, oh, I didn't know you were an actor. I didn't know you were in Days of Our Lives. I didn't know you were a 2-time Mr. Australia. And that person actually thinks so much more of you because, you're not bragging about yourself. But also, I'd also say to him, I said, what am I going to do? When does hey, I'm a 2-time Mr. Australia fit into a conversation? You know what I mean?
Podcast talk right there. I'll ask you.
Yeah, it's like, by the way, I'm a 2-time Mr. Australia, and I'm an actor. And it's like you see a lot of insecurity for a lot of men where they continually talk about how pretty their girlfriend is or something. I'm like, bro, seriously? You talk more about this girlfriend than you do that I talk about my daughter or acting, which are really important to me. And I've got to be honest, bro, I don't want to keep hearing about how pretty your girlfriend is. So, it's just people that continually talk about things or brag about themselves. And I've done that before because I was insecure. And someone said it, they said, Guy, people aren't going to tell you how great you are at something if you keep telling them how great you are. Shut up and let other people do the talking for you. Because I was just very insecure. So I would try to talk about myself to try to talk myself up. And then it's funny now I see that in other people and I'm like, oh, I used to do that. So I found being is more praising other people. I've had people where they've, like, wow, that's awesome, bro. You won the local show. And then they go, man, I just heard you're a 2-time Australian. You never even mentioned it. I'm like, well, we weren't talking about me, mate. We're talking about you. And I like that type of thing. If someone's going to brag about you, then it should be someone else. If you in it when you're asking questions, I'll talk about it. I think like the silent Clint Eastwood type where you're not loud. Like I can't stand loud, over aggressive, people like that just. I'm like, what are you trying to prove? And like I said to Dawn off air, I said there are over 7 billion people on this planet. You're not going to get on with everyone, and you need to just accept that. There are some people that don't like me, and I'm glad you don't like me because I don't want someone like you like me. There are just, who you are in this world because everyone else is in it. Like I'm extremely loyal, and I've been burned a lot by friends that aren't, which would really upset me. Then I thought, well, how would I know I'm loyal if everyone else is the same as me? So that, that just was something that I came up with that, I am loyal, but I also had stupid loyalty where I was loyal to people that I shouldn't have been because they didn't deserve it. And, you know, that's life learning experience. I never changed that about myself, but I just was disappointed and hurt a lot of times because people weren't the same. And then I came to the realization, you know what, exactly what I just said, people aren't the same. You don't know their upbringing. You don't know their reasons for being like that. And the other thing I don't try to do is work out why people do things. Everyone's like, why do they do that? He's crazy. I'm like, dude, you just answered the question. He's crazy. And you're trying to work out why he does things. You know what I mean? Like, the guy's got issues and you know that. And here you are sitting here. I wonder why he does that. I said, bro, he doesn't even know why he does it. Why are you trying to work it out?
Mariano, do you have any questions?
Yeah. I remember running into Guy at Gold's Gym in Venice. That's where all the celebrities train at. And I remember when you were bodybuilding, because I judged you at an NPC show a long time ago. I can't remember what show it was. And I remember you were hanging out with Lee Priest, because they both are from the same country, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I just like, I remember, you were at Gold's, man. And, you know, everybody's an actor out there, right? You've seen Danny Trejo and all these other guys, you know, Matias, we all know the same people. But I remember I forgot what project we worked on, but I just can't remember. And and I did something with Lee Priest a long time ago, and then we were talking about you and everything. It was really interesting. This is a long time ago, probably like in the 90s. Yeah,
around 98, 99 is when I actually met you pretty much the first time I was at Gold's. And, you know, Lee was an awesome guy. I was a little intimidated around him because you've also got that competitive rivalry as well. You know what I mean? So you want to be close with someone, but also it's like if you're going to fight someone, it's kind of hard to talk to them and be really nice because you've got to fight them or you've got to compete against them. So it's a fine line that you've got to work with, that you've got to sit on. And then also probably before a fight or a show, you actually say to your mate, hey, listen, Mariano, we're not going to talk for the next month. We'll talk again after the fight, because you got to start to build hatred. Like I remember we were fighting, I'd sit in the bathroom and, they in the military, that they calling it, de-lifing the enemy, like bringing everything that ever happened to me when I stubbed my toe when I was 7, that's his fault. Everything was his fault. So you build up a lot of anger, a lot of aggression. We take him. The other thing for me with the acting, it's very therapeutic because I get to let out a lot of aggression and emotions. So I play a lot of aggressive characters. So it's in a way, it's a lot of therapy for me as well, where I get to, rather than go beat someone up because I've got some hostility in me, I've got a lot of demons in me and I get to let them out on the acting screen. I've been doing some comedies and some different kind of work, which challenges me, makes me feel like I'm growing as an actor. But I definitely would say the acting as a bad guy and a tough guy a lot, which I get. Same as Mariano, I get a lot of the same roles. And people go, man, you're getting typecast. And I'm like, bro, I'm getting cast. I'm all happy with it. And then I did a few comedies and people were like, man, you're actually pretty funny. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Because when you look mean and then you're actually funny and very nice to people, people look at you a different way and they really respect you. And because people go, man, I wouldn't want to mess with you. And I appreciate that, bro. And then and they go, man, you're a really nice guy. And I don't act surprised, but I understand where they're coming from. So, yeah, just, I'm in a good place where I'm happy with who I am because I've learned, but at the same time, there's still a lot of things that I need to improve on. And, till the day I die, I'm still going to, look back at my life and go, hey, there are a lot of things you could have done better than that. And I think, I'm not into religion or anything, but I think in my religion, everyone's got a religion, that at the end of your life, you get to look back and God says, okay, are you ready to move on to another person? And I'm like, no, I'm going to go back and live the life of Grundy again. I said, there's a lot of things that I need to do right. And I think I've lived this life probably 50 times because I'm still trying to get it right. And everyone else is like, bro, I've lived 50 lives and you're still on the same one. I'm like, yeah, man, I've got to get Guy Grundy right before I move on.
I've got a request. Somebody wants to know your story in the series The Collector.
That was the Lackey. I basically appeared in The Deadliest Warrior. I went for an ad, believe it or not, through Craigslist, and I went in and they auditioned me, and Sean Piccinino I owe a lot to for that, and Noel Vega. I was inexperienced, I wasn't known, and they took a risk on me. And from that role, I got to do with Bat in the Sun. I got to do City of Scars as Zaz, and then also I got to do the Lackey, which was the collector. And every time I go on set, like I went on set just to do one scene, and then they go, "Hey man, do you want to come back and do some more?" So the next thing I was like having a starring role in it, because they'd be talking about, you know, getting rid of bodies or how to do this or that. And I'd be like, you know, that's not really actually how you do it. And they'd be like, "Why do you know so much?" I said, "Don't worry, that's not how you do it." So, you know, just a lot of those life experiences. And I was a collector. I was an enforcer. You know, I've been arrested and held on over $1 million bail for that. Obviously, you know, the charges and that were wrong. I didn't do anything wrong in that regards. But, yeah, it's just something that, you know, I totally blame Sylvester Stallone, because he had such an impression, because he was a collector and a fighter and a tough guy. Yeah. So it's all your fault, Sylvester Stallone. It's all your fault, mate.
That is too funny. So for our audience that wants to follow you, keep up with what you got going on, where can they follow you?
You can get me on Instagram. My name, which is my real name, by the way, Guy Grundy. Everyone says to me, like, seriously? If I was going to pick a name, do you think I'd pick Guy Grundy? I'd pick JJ Stokes or Cody Jones, something cool. Like, I had Grundy's. The worst thing is, my dad wanted to call me Butch. Can you imagine what human being I'd be if my name was Butch Grundy? Like, Guy kind of makes me a little soft, but if I was Butch Grundy, I don't know where I'd be right now. I'd be somewhere crazy. And yeah, so to follow me, also I have a website, guygrundy-.com, but Instagram or Facebook, you can follow me there just by putting in my name, Guy Grundy. And thankfully I've got a weird name, so no one else really has it, so I'm pretty easy to follow. So
tell me about the life and times of Grundy collecting debts.
Well, that's you brought up Maverick, so he was
who do you think?
Maverick, I didn't know that.
Brought up Maverick. So I was a collector, and then Maverick just said, "Hey, do you want me to come along with one for you?" And he did. And how he handled it and how he did it and the verbiage he used, the words he used, I was standing there, like, one minute I wanted to cry on the inside, I wanted to laugh, I was feeling all these, like, because he was so good at it. And but not by threatening people, by just using legal language to get the money. You know, like, I'm not going to say I haven't beaten people up in the past or whatever, but, you know, I'm uneducated. You know, it was basically really the worst thing in the world happened. My first collection, I made like $10,000, and I'm like, wow, this is good. This is good. I like this. I like this cash-free money. So it was just something that I fell into, and I did for like 3 years, and then I got out of it. Then I got arrested by SWAT. They actually followed me for 2 weeks, and they said, because I had retired from by then, they said, "We just had to come and arrest you because you were so boring. You didn't do anything other than go to the gym and work and play with your daughter." Because I completely got out of it. So the collecting, it was, like I said, it was just, I really seriously blame Rocky for it, because that movie had such an effect on me. I blame Rocky. It's all his fault. It's all his fault, because I was just so impressed by it. And also, when I look at the realistic picture, it's something that I could do because, you know, I am a big guy and I can fight. So it's just something I progressed to. But also the people that I was around in that business were also really cool guys. Like, I mean, I had a lot of good friends that were real men and really cool guys that didn't act tough. Right. So I kind of liked that environment, being around those kind of men. And I'm proud to admit that I did it, because it was a period of my life that helped me evolve. And, you know, then I moved on to something else. But it was definitely an adventure. And yeah, with Maverick, oh my God, one of the most fun. For instance, one night we went out. Then this is actually, we were with Mariano, and I don't drink, and we were at some club after we went to the fight. So Mariano was there with his mate, and because Mariano and Maverick were really well known at the club, they kept giving us free drinks. And I don't drink, but you're going to give me something for free, I'm going to drink it. I'm like, give me the smallest thing that I can drink to get drunk. So I get drunk, and we say goodbye to Mariano. We hop in the car, and this is Maverick. Wakes me up 3 hours later, and I'm like, oh. He goes, "Hey, you take the wheel for a while." I'm like, where are we going? He goes, "We're going to Vegas, baby." He just decided to drive to Vegas. And then you'd be in a motel, you're sleeping in the car and taking turns driving, and then you wake you up like urgent, Grundy, wake up. He goes, and you're like, what's up, bro? He goes, that's the third big Carl's Jr. burger we've passed. just like there was never a dull moment with that guy. Like he was a lot of fun, and yeah, I love him. And like Mariano knows him so well, and you've had him on the show.
Awesome, man. He can do his own documentary.
Oh yeah. He is one of a kind. There's only one Maverick, I tell you that.
Well, I wanted to thank you so much for being a guest on Big Dog's Corner.
Thank you, Guy. Appreciate it, man. I love you. You got an awesome testimony, man. And
absolutely,
anything comes up work-wise, brother, I'll give you a holler.
Awesome, brother. Likewise. I look forward to working on set with you again, big fella. And thank you so much for having me on, Dawn. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. This has been a new podcast.